Imagine trying to stop pregnancy with crocodile poop or goat bladders or half a lemon squeezed inside you. It sounds ridiculous, maybe even a little gross, but for most of human history, this was contraception. Long before latex and the pill, people were desperate, creative, and sometimes downright dangerous in their attempts to control fertility. And while some of those methods actually worked, others were fatal. Today, we're going to go back and trace the wild history of condoms and contraception. A story that spans 4,000 years, extinction of entire plants, underground knowledge networks, and a scientific revolution that changed society forever. Contraception isn't just about sex. It's about power, survival, and choice. Every society, from ancient Egypt to modern America, has wrestled with it. So how did we get from honey-soaked papyrus and goat intestines to the birth control pill and IUDs? And why is the fight over contraception still raging today? One of the earliest recipes we know about comes from Egypt around 1850 BC. Honey, acacia leaves, and lint pressed into the vagina to block sperm. The acacia actually ferments into lactic acid, a real spermicide. The Egyptians also tried crocodile dung pessaries. It sounds wild, but modern scientists think its high acidity may have reduced sperm mobility. Elsewhere, people experimented with plants. Silphium, a fennel-like herb from North Africa, was so prized as a contraceptive that it was harvested into extinction by the 1st century AD. Its image was stamped on coins. That's how central birth control was. A herb used in sex was literally money. Greek philosophers had their own ideas. Aristotle suggested rubbing the womb with cedar oil, lead ointment, or frankincense to block sperm. Lead ointment, of course, was toxic. By the 2nd century, Soranus, an early gynecologist, dismissed magic amulets and instead advised mechanical barriers like vaginal plugs made of wool soaked in oils. Not elegant, but closer to a condom in spirit. And speaking of condoms, the first references come from Crete, where King Minos allegedly used a goat's bladder as a sheath. Later versions include fish bladders, linen, and sheep gut. In medieval Europe, the Catholic Church condemned contraception as sinful. Pope Gregory IX even declared that marriages entered with the intent to avoid children were invalid. But people still sought ways. Coitus interruptus, withdrawal, was widely practiced, even mentioned in the Bible's story of Onan. And then there were the herbs: Queen's Anne's lace, pennyroyal, rue, plants whispered from mother to daughter, midwife to midwife. This was the original Plan B, whispered woman to woman, hidden from priests and husbands. These weren't just folk remedies, they were survival strategies. In an era where childbirth could easily be fatal, having too many children could mean poverty, starvation, or death. Using herbs wasn't just breaking a religious taboo, it could be risking your life if caught. Elsewhere, cultures had their own methods. Japanese sex workers used bamboo paper as barriers. Jewish women soaked sea sponges in silk. In India, mixtures of honey, ghee, and rock salt were applied to the cervix. This underground culture of contraception, part science, part secrecy, kept knowledge alive in whispers, even when official records tried to erase it. By the Renaissance, condoms became more recognizable. The legendary lover Casanova described using half a lemon as a primitive cervical cap, both acidic and, well, zesty. Then came a game changer: rubber. In 1839, Charles Goodyear invented vulcanized rubber, soon used for condoms and diaphragms. But progress ran into politics. In 1873, the US passed the Comstock laws, banning contraception as obscene. And here's the thing, the US was the only Western nation to criminalize birth control, making America both the most innovative and the most repressive place at once. This wasn't just about condoms. The Comstock laws made it a federal crime to mail any information about contraception. Pamphlets, medical advice, even letters between doctors could land you in prison. For women, simply seeking advice could mean public shame or worse. Birth control went underground. Companies sold douching syringes, sometimes filled with vinegar or even Lysol, disguised as feminine hygiene products. They were corrosive, dangerous, and sometimes fatal. Yet for women with no other options, it was a desperate risk worth taking. The 20th century brought real science. In the 1920s and 30s, latex replaced rubber, creating cheaper, thinner, and mass-producible condoms. But the biggest breakthroughs came from activists. Margaret Sanger, nurse, rebel, and constant target of police raids, distributed pamphlets, smuggled diaphragms, and was arrested multiple times. She believed women couldn't be free without control over reproduction. She found an unlikely ally in Catherine McCormick, a wealthy biologist and suffragist who used her fortune to secretly bankroll research. Together, they paved the way for the first birth control pill, approved in 1960. For the first time in history, women had a discreet, highly effective method they controlled themselves. Soon after came IUDs, hormonal injections, implants, and emergency contraceptives, safer and more effective than almost anything that came before. Today, contraception is everywhere. Condoms, pills, implants, and IUDs prevent millions of unintended pregnancies every year. They save lives. Maternal deaths drop dramatically where birth control is widely available. But access is still contested. In some countries, contraception remains restricted by law or religion. In others, it's too expensive or stigmatized. Globally, over 200 million women who want birth control still can't get it. For them, the same choices that once meant desperation, risk, secrecy, or silence are still the reality. And the future? Scientists are testing male birth control gels that lower sperm count, and even app-linked implants that can be turned on or off remotely. It's contraception designed for the digital age, high-tech answers to a problem as old as humanity. From crocodile dung and goat bladders to microchips and hormones, the story of contraception is the story of human ingenuity and desperation. Every method, no matter how strange, reflects the same truth. People have always tried to control when and whether life begins. And maybe that's why this history matters, because behind every condom, every pill, and every whispered folk remedy is a universal human desire to have the freedom to choose. So next time you see a box of condoms at the pharmacy, remember, you're looking at the latest chapter in a 4,000-year struggle, one that's far from over. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.